Researchers have always been trying to figure out how we came to be. Now, they say they have done something truly amazing. They have found the exact place where every person on Earth came from. Think about that. But how did they pull off such an amazing feat? Was it by going back in time, reading old scrolls, or finding a map to a secret treasure? We're going to talk more about this interesting discovery and the secrets that have been buried in the sands of time in this piece. Could this new information change how we think about our past, our ancestors, and in the end, ourselves? Let's talk about it. Scientists have discovered the exact spot where all humans originated, using mitochondrial DNA from 1,217 different samples of cells. This circular genetic material is passed down from mothers to children, making it normal for researchers to use this information. The research team found a general area of origin using DNA data, leading to more archaeological and geological research, which helped them find evidence of a huge ancient lake that dried up and turned into wetlands. The idea that humans originated in Africa has made it difficult to make a map of their growth and migrations. Fossil records show that humans began to evolve about 7 million years ago when they split off from predators like chimpanzees and bonobos. However, as scientists get closer to the present day, the picture of humankind's ancestors becomes clearer. Neanderthals lived in Europe, Siberia, and Central Asia, but not as far as Africa. This group may have paved the way for modern humans, but they did not create the species. Instead, Homo erectus and Homo sapiens evolved, and then Homo sapiens species evolved. The new people were slightly different from groups like the Neanderthals, who had lived on the continent before them. Homo humans became thinner than the denser Neanderthals that lived in the north. They also learned how to make tools before the Neanderthals did, making their blades smooth and long. They also improved their tools by making throwing spears that were more complex, helping them hunt better. To understand how and where humans evolved, scientists came up with two key ideas: the multi-regional hypothesis, which suggests that our ancestors lived all over the world, and the out of Africa idea, which is a single origin theory that modern humans grew and changed on the continent for thousands of years before moving to other parts of the world. In the 1980s, scientists seem to have found evidence that this theory was true due to DNA testing. Researchers followed many different lines of evidence back a very long time ago, always leading them to the same place: Africa. In these original studies, two experts used mitochondrial DNA to find out where their subjects' ancestors came from. This part of a person's DNA comes from their mother, and mutations occur more often in this part of the DNA than in others. One way to easily see how mutations have been passed down from mothers to children for many generations is to follow this mitochondrial DNA back to the beginning of society. Eve, the most recent shared ancestor of all people, was thought to come from Africa, specifically Bali in the eastern part of the continent. The study's authors concluded that Eve came from Africa, specifically Bali in the eastern part of the continent. However, experts still had many questions about how the species spread to other continents and why there are so many fossils from Europe. To find answers, researchers combined DNA data with artifacts found in the ground, pointing to large-scale migrations that began between 60,000 and 880,000 years ago. Modern humans left Africa for Asia about 45,000 years ago, then moved to Australia, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. After 5,000 years, they left Africa for Europe, crossing the Mediterranean coast, Turkey, and along the Danube. People made it to the Americas as the last stop on their trip until the species went extinct about 25,000 years ago. The first signs of this happened in Asia about 15,000 years ago, and some members of the species continued to wander until they settled in South America. Archaeologists have been unable to find the remains of Earth's earliest Homo sapiens, even though the land easily wears away and shows the bones of people who died there hundreds of years ago. Most experts think that the first humans didn't hide their dead like the Neanderthals did. Instead, They either burned them or left them out in the open to break down. A team led by Dr. Hayes found 127 mitochondrial DNA samples from people living in southern Africa, including the Khoisan population, an indigenous group whose language has clicking sounds and who have long used those samples to find food. They found what is called the zero-law bloodline, which goes all the way back to Eve, who is the mother of all people. Eve's DNA split into 5 main lines over time as people left Africa and became more diverse. The so-called zero line also went in different directions. The zero-law mitochondrial DNA had to start somewhere, and Hayes and her team were able to pinpoint exactly where they found it. They found that zero-law and all of its subbranches were found in Africa, in a region that included Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. They added geological fossils and archaeological proof to what they already knew. One interesting place where humans came from is Lake Mati, which, about 200,000 years ago, covered a large part of what is now Botswana. Based on what they know about this possible place where humans came from, it looks very different now than it did in the past. It is hard to believe that the first plants that humans ate could have grown in this area. At one point, the wetland in Botswana would have been an oasis for the dry areas around it, meaning that people may have started their journey there 200,000 years ago and stayed for another 70,000 years. However, it is thought that a change in climate eventually forced the first humans out of the wetlands as the Earth's orbit and tilt changed. Other research has also found that people's ancestors came from other parts of Africa. A study that looked at the white chromosomes that guys are the only ones who can inherit suggested that movement started in West Africa, which is a long way from Botswana in the south, which is landlocked. In a different study, people who left Africa for other countries still had genes that came from the eastern parts of the continent. This is it for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. If so, then share your thoughts in the comments and also share this video with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can never miss our video.